I'm Marina Piscolish, and I'm guessing that we have a bunch of friends gathered in the room right there in Austin, Texas. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but I'm happy that through the use of this video I might be able to be part of the conversation and help encourage us on our way to building a community that's vital and interactive and supportive of all of us. That's what the point of this session is about, and I'm really excited that we've gathered together once again to talk about what we could do together that we can't do alone. I'm bringing this video to you. I'm taping it here in Hawaii, which is where I live, for those of you that don't know, and I'm in private practice. I've been in private practice for about 10 years, and from my base here in Hawaii, I've had the chance to do some wonderful work in largely the areas of environment, education, health, among others, and always because it's here in Hawaii with an eye toward social justice, cultural responsiveness, and the context that our conflicts sit in. It's given me a tremendous opportunity to rethink some things I thought I knew about neutrality, about my role, about the ways of bringing people together to get things done. And that has been a delightful, enlivening conversation that I've been having with Frank Dukes, who's there in the room with you, and John Stevens, as just two of many colleagues who have been talking about the ways that we work. What I want to do in this short video is bring into your conversation a bit of the history and background about why we actually proposed creating a virtual community using state-of-the-art technology to bring us together on a more regular basis. HigherGroundSwell.com is the name of the website that's been created and the location of a virtual networking space that's being built for us. As you know, Frank, John, and I collaborated back in 2000 on a book called Reaching for Higher Ground, and the premise of that book was to help groups achieve extraordinary results where previously we might have only hoped for the ordinary. And the process that we were advancing to do that was really to help people have a deeper conversation about the shared purpose they had come together to achieve, the shared principles that they wanted to define the way they work together, and frankly, the behavioral expectations that living those values and principles would require. In some ways it was conflict prevention, anticipating where the challenges of group work are likely to be found. But what we also came to realize was having those conversations made it possible for us to check a lot of assumptions about ways of working, who has voice, what is the agenda. It actually creates an opening for discussions of dominance and oppression dynamics. It makes it possible for minorities in a group, whether they be minorities based on gender, sexual orientation, age, to be given the chance to be expressed about the ways they'd like to work, about what matters to them, about the values they bring to the task, that typically don't happen when we have sort of brief and functional discussions of ground rules. We kind of allow ourselves to be dominated by what we've been dominated all along, whatever those cultural trends are. So what we found with the Reaching for Higher Ground work over these 10 years that it's been in use is that it has the potential to really give us a way to open a conversation to some of the more esoteric, nuanced, and even controversial aspects of group work, and to create a shared commitment to a different way of working, a more principled way, a more inclusive way, a way that honors more of the diversity that genuinely is with us in group work. And we've had a lot of fun experimenting with that. Over the years, ACR has been generous in its sharing of program time for us to talk about the work and to gather people together who share an interest. What we found is that the book is almost an invitation to conversation for many of our colleagues in ACR who were interested in looking at culturally diverse ways of working, innovated, hybridized approaches to working across cultures and contexts, kind of inventing as we go, There's interest on looking at more healing practices, holistic processes than we typically talk about in our work. There are people who want to talk about what it means to openly accept that we're not neutral in a process. There's also interest in looking at the ways our own typical processes of mediation, facilitation, and other dispute resolution processes map onto a series of other strategies, even conflict escalation, when that's a necessary step in a longer conflict engagement process. So what came about was that 2 years ago we approached the ACR membership with the question, look, those of us who've been gathering together, kind of huddled in corners at the conference and trying to find each other in sessions that sort of we feel similarly motivated to attend, where our interests start to show, maybe we want a forum, a place to gather, a way of being in touch with one another, of swapping stories and strategies. And so a few years ago we brought that question to the ACR membership. I remember actually between the time we wrote the proposal for the session and when the session came to be held, that my own feeling was that there was a lot of movement in the field in this direction, more open discussion of spirituality, cultural diversity, innovation and practice, non-neutrality. And so the question was, do we need to really duplicate one more effort, or splinter our efforts? Perhaps there are already contexts, avenues for this work that we don't need to recreate something or create something anew. To my surprise, the reaction of those gathered at the group, which I numbered around 50 that day, was absolutely there is nothing that does adequately what we believe is possible to do. We need something new. We need something of our own. We need a place to gather, a forum, and a way to do it. So since that time, we've taken direction from you, and we have created highergroundswell.com. Its purpose is to, I think of it as a campfire where we can sort of gather and talk. Think of it as a watering hole where sort of people on their way from one direction to another sort of pass by each other and share stories of where they've been, where they're going, leave behind information that we can all use. And over the time of this growing need that's been felt in our field, the technology has been more than keeping pace with our discussion, and in fact now stands ready to support us in some pretty phenomenal ways. So what this session is about engaging you with all of us to create a shared resource that can do whatever it is we ask of it in the way of connecting us to each other, giving us a place to put our work out for others to view, share, and comment on, opportunities to find one another for collaborations, to seek out one another as sources of support, both around how we work with our clients, how we serve the larger public, how we support ourselves in the process. So I'm really happy that we're having this discussion and that we have a resource that we can now sort of throw our energy into and make it whatever we believe it should be. Thanks for being here. And in the next segment, we're going to talk a little more about exactly what the site can do.